He sat beneath the moon that night. A silver silence wrapped the sand, and all the stars above the dunes felt like witnesses of a man's command. He held a paper, fragile, pure, like a soul untouched by sin, and every word his heart had stored was trembling, waiting to begin. He wrote her name, just her name, and the ink began to bleed, for every letter carved her face, and every breath became a need. He smiled, yet pain was in his eyes, the kind a king must hide, for even royals bow to love, when love becomes their guide. He whispered softly to the page, "My dearest, far yet near, if only ink could touch your heart, if only words could make you hear." He paused and looked toward the dawn, where memories softly blend. He knew this letter's every line was something he could never send, for duty called, and hearts obeyed. The throne was not his own. The world could never understand the love he'd sown, but not shown. He wrote of days when silence spoke, of glances stealing time, of promises made through distant eyes, of sins that felt sublime. He wrote, "I saw you once, beneath the desert's golden hue, and though 1,000 years may pass, my heart will still find you." The candle flickered like his soul, half bright, half torn apart, a letter hidden, sealed with breath, yet carved into his heart. He spoke of all he could not say, of things the crown forbade, of tears he turned to quiet grace, of choices love had made. He wrote, "You came to me in silence, and left me in a dream, but every time I close my eyes, you rise like morning's gleam." His pen kept bleeding secrets that only night could keep, while dunes became his witnesses, and the stars refused to sleep. He spoke of her perfume in wind, of her laughter lost in rain, of the way her eyes could calm the storm, yet drive a man insane. He wrote, "If only fate were kind, if only hearts were free, you would have sat beside my soul, and ruled this world with me. But kingdoms rise on sacrifice, and love must fade to dust, for even princes pay the price of loyalty and trust." He sealed the page with trembling hands, his tears like drops of gold. The letter whispered through the night, a truth he never told. He hid it where the moonlight fell, beneath a chest of dreams, among old vows, forgotten crowns, and destiny's cruel schemes. He said, "One day when I am gone, perhaps they'll find this page, and see the man behind the prince, beyond the crown, beyond the cage." But until then, he'd wear his smile, and walk with silent grace, for love, to him, was both a crown, and his unspoken place. The sand beneath him softly moved, as if to guard his pain. The desert held his letter close, and promised to remain. He whispered, "Hide her name, let not the world recall, for though she left, her love remains, my rise, my curse, my fall." And as the wind began to weep, the candle's light grew thin. The night bowed down before the man whose war was fought within. The letter rested, never sent. Its ink became his fate, a poem lost in royal hands, a love sealed far too late. He rose, and placed the folded sheet beside his heart, his sin, and whispered to the sleeping stars, "She'll know, though I'll never begin." The moonlight kissed the edge of hope, and wrapped his face in glow. A king who ruled 1,000 lands, yet one heart he'd let go. And thus began the silent vow of love the world forgot, the hidden letter never sent, but never once not thought. He turned to leave, his robe of white now brushed by tears unseen. The paper trembled in his chest, where she had always been, and though his palace shone with light, and songs of praise were sung, he felt the emptiness inside, where love had once begun. For even kings who rule the earth can't rule the fate of hearts, and letters left unsent like his are life's most sacred arts. He said, let destiny be cruel. Let silence be my pen. But she will breathe inside my soul. A guy. And yet again. He placed the page beneath his robe, where pulse met folded word. And every beat became her name, though never to be heard. He stood before the morning's light, a prince yet just a man, who built his kingdom out of dreams, but lost her hand in sand. And there, between the stars and sea, between what his end meant, lies the hidden letter he once wrote, but never, ever sent. Days passed like quiet shadows, drifting through his golden hall. He wore the mask the world adored, yet inside, he felt so small. He met the eyes of courtiers. He spoke of peace and fame, but deep within, a whisper cried, forever calling her name. He'd walk beside the palace lake, where moonlight kissed the tide, and in the ripples, he would see the woman once by his side. Her laughter echoed faintly still, a ghost the wind would keep, and every time the night grew cold, his soul forgot to sleep. He thought about that folded note, the one the world won't see, a hidden flame, a sealed goodbye, his heart's last melody. He wrote within that sacred page what kingdoms cannot buy, a truth too tender, pure and deep, a royal man's soft cry. He said, I love you, not for fame, nor for the world to know. I love you like the desert loves the moon's eternal glow. He never sent it, couldn't dare, for honor chained his hand, and duty's voice was far too loud for love to make a stand. He'd watch the stars in silence fall, each one a fading spark, like every dream they once had built, now buried in the dark. He'd whisper to the empty night, my heart is not a throne. It's just a cage of polished gold, where I must weep alone. Sometimes, he'd see her in the crowd, not real, just in his mind, a fleeting shape of what was lost, a love the world left blind. He'd breathe her name beneath his prayer, and no one ever knew that every verse of holy words was meant for her, not who. He'd stand before the holy Kaaba, and tears would touch the floor. He'd ask his Lord for peace of heart, but love would ache the more. He said, forgive me, O my Lord, for loving like a man, for giving her what only you can truly understand. And in that sacred, still embrace, he felt her soul appear, not near his eyes, but near his heart, so painfully, so clear. He'd feel her warmth in morning breeze, her shadow in the flame. He whispered, though I lost her face, I'll never lose her name. The courtiers praised his noble grace, the poets wrote his fame, but none could see the tears he hid, the fire he couldn't tame. At night, he'd find that hidden chest, where memories softly slept, and touch the folded letter once, the promise never kept. He'd trace the lines his hand once wrote, each word still breathing pain, and every time he read her name, his soul would burn again. He'd wonder, did she think of me? Did she forget my song? And though the years kept moving on, his heart stayed bound, lifelong. He thought of what he could have said, if fate were not unkind, if she could hear his silent words, the voice he left behind. He'd say, my love, I never changed. Though crowns may come and fade, I built an empire of restraint, but love was all I made. And sometimes, when the moon was full, he'd ride alone through sand, where she once laughed beneath the stars, and touched his trembling hand. The wind would sing her lullaby, the dunes would speak her name, the desert knew the secret truth, that love and loss were same. He'd stop where once they stood apart, two souls, one fleeting night, and whisper softly to the wind, I hope you sleep in light. The horses bowed their heads in grief, as if they knew his ache, For even nature mourned the heart that destiny would break. He'd lift his eyes toward the sky, and tears would dim his sight. He said, "She was my sun by day, my soul's beloved light." The letter, still within his chest, had turned to holy script, each word a prayer, each line a wound, each tear his lips had dripped. He dreamed she'd find it someday soon, when time had turned to peace, and read the love he never spoke, the words that brought release. He dreamed she'd sit beneath the moon, and whisper, "Now I know." He never left, he only hid, to save my heart from woe. But morning came, and duty called. The king must wear his crown, and hide the pain beneath his robe, and never break it down. He rode across his silent land, where children laughed and sang. He smiled for them, though deep inside, his soul still softly rang. The call of love, the echo faint, still whispered through his reign, a song the angels must have heard, composed of joy and pain. He ruled with mercy, spoke with peace. He built and healed and gave. Yet no one knew the lonely king, who loved beyond his grave. At night, the letter called to him, like ghosts from golden past, reminding him of promises too beautiful to last. He'd press it to his beating chest, and whisper, "Still you live, for though I could not send you love, you taught me how to give." He'd breathe her name, then fall asleep, the moon above his head, and every dream became her smile, her words the tears he shed. And when he woke, he'd face the sun, as if to hide his heart, for kings must walk where love can't go, and worlds must stand apart. He looked at morning's gentle light, and softly said, "My dear, the letter's still where I first kept, untouched for every year." Then turned toward the empty hall, where echoes softly blend, and whispered to the silent air, "A love that does not end." The winds obeyed, the desert hushed, the palace held its breath, for even time could feel his soul, and indie love past death. He walked alone beside his crown, the letter near his heart, and though the world called him complete, he knew he'd lost his part, the part that made him human still, that made him live and feel, the woman who became his truth, the wound that would not heal. And so he kept that letter safe, in chest of sandalwood, a message written once in tears, still pure, still understood. He said, "If one day I am gone, and shadows fill my throne, let them not read this letter loud. It speaks to her alone." And then he smiled, a broken smile, as dawn began to rise, and wiped the silver from his cheek that fell from royal eyes. He said, "Perhaps in afterlife, the words will find her hand, and she will know I loved her so, beyond what life had planned." The wind took flight, the sands awoke, the moon sank far behind, but still that letter breathed of her, the one he could not find. He wandered through the silent halls, where shadows whispered low, the echoes of a hidden heart that only he could know. The letter slept beneath his robe, its words like frozen flame, a love he could not give away, yet could not quite reclaim. He saw her face in every glass, in every passing crowd, yet none could guess the longing deep beneath his royal shroud. He wrote her name upon the wind, and held it to his chest, the ink of dreams that never flew, the words he'd never rest. He thought of times they almost met, of fleeting stolen days, of laughter shared in fleeting hours, of love in quiet ways. The stars became his only friends, their light a gentle balm. They knew the weight he carried still, and soothed his restless calm. He whispered, "If you knew my heart, you'd see it beats for you, a prisoner of duty's call, yet faithful, strong, and true." The desert winds would stir the trees, and carry scents of past. He'd close his eyes, and see her smile, though nothing ever lasts. The palace walls could hold his voice, but not the words of soul. A prince whose love remained unseen, yet made his spirit whole. He wrote of moonlit stolen nights, of whispers in the breeze, of longing that could never die, and secrets no one sees. He said, "Though duty keeps us bound, and crowns divide our way, my heart remains your sacred home, till end of night and day." Each word a prayer, each line a hope, yet none would reach her hand. The letter slept in hidden chest, a truth none could command. He wandered by the fountains cold, where silver waters gleamed, and saw reflections of a love that only lived in dreams. He whispered to the desert sands, to every grain he passed, "Keep her safe within your arms, until this storm is past." The wind replied with silent grace, a comfort to his soul. Yet still he felt the empty space that only love could hold. He saw her once in fleeting thought, a shadow near the gate, and for a moment time stood still. Yet love could not abate. He pressed the letter to his chest, and felt her presence near. Though centuries of duty loomed, her heartbeat he could hear. He said, "Perhaps one day you'll find these words I never sent, and know my heart was always yours, my love, my deep lament." The palace glimmered in the sun. The court sang songs of praise. Yet he alone bore silent storms, and walked through hidden haze. At night he'd ride across the dunes, beneath the silver moon. The sand would hum beneath his horse, a quiet lover's tune. The letter slept in sacred chest, its words a soft refrain, of love too vast to ever speak, of pleasure, grief, and pain. He thought, "She never knew my tears, nor every whispered vow, yet still she lives within my soul, and always will somehow." The candle's flame would flicker low, as if to understand the depth of longing in his chest. The pain he could not brand. He smiled, though broken, in the night, a king of silent flame, and held the letter to his heart, his love without a name. He walked alone through palace halls, and felt her near yet far. The hidden words he never sent became his northern star. He said, "Though life and crown divide, and kingdoms keep me bound, my heart remains a secret home, where you are always found." And so the night embraced him close, the stars his only friend, a letter sleeping in the chest, yet love without an end. He rose at dawn, the sun ablaze, the world still praised his might, yet none could see the silent man, who loved beyond the light. The letter breathed beneath his cloak, its words a sacred stream, and in his heart a quiet hope, a never-ending dream. The wind would carry whispers soft, through palace, sand, and dune, a hidden love that never left, yet never saw the noon. He pressed it once, then placed it safe, where time could not intrude. A royal heart that beat for one, a love both pure and crude. He whispered, "One day you'll know, though fate has kept us torn, this letter holds the love I gave the night before the morn." And with that thought, he faced the world, a prince with quiet eyes, the hidden letter yet untouched, beneath the moonlit skies. At dawn he rose, the world awake, yet still the letter he would take. A secret love, a hidden plea, a heart that yearned, yet could not be. He wandered through the silent halls, where shadows whispered, "Duty calls." The ink he wrote, the words unshown, a truth he bore, but bore alone. The moon would watch, the stars would shine, a love eternal, though confined. He placed the note in sacred chest, a hope, a dream, a quiet rest. And though he ruled with royal hand, her memory would always stand. The hidden letter, never sent, yet held the soul of his lament.